as you know from talking in class, we know that this world is run on data. Anytime you make an account anywhere, anytime you place an order online, anything like that, you're tracking data or the company is tracking data. So sometimes you've got large amounts of data you need to work with and you need to find what meets your criteria. And that's what we're going to work on today. So in your computer apps class in Teams, you've been assigned a lesson file Sylvia student survey. If you can't find it, you can always go up to assignments right here. And because you're watching this video, it's probably the most recently assigned thing or one of them. And right here, you can click on that. And then inside of there, you will have a Sylvia student survey and you can click this drop-down menu and open it in Excel. When you open it up, it'll look something like this. Now, you exist in this survey because I've been surveying every one of my students since I started teaching for 10 years, and you exist in here. So if you wanted to go find yourself, you could pause the video here and see if you can find yourself. But what we're going to do is really utilize this data. Now, if I zoom out, you can see there's a lot of data in here. There's actually over 700 rows of data in here. And sometimes you have hundreds of thousands. I mean, if you think about like Amazon.com, how much data do they have, right? So you've got lots of different pieces, and each of these represent a person. So when we start talking about large amounts of data, we talk about what are fields and what are records. So fields are kind of like, what are the questions that you're asking? What does everybody have that is in common? So like gender, age, class, shoe size, those are all fields that we have in common. And then records would be each individual person or each individual record or entry. So if you think about like Amazon.com, they keep track of an order number, they keep track of the shipping address, the order email, the amount, all those kinds of things would be fields. And then each order would be a record within there. So when we're talking about this, and then we're getting into kind of like a databasing piece, is it's large amounts of data, and we want to go ahead and start manipulating it. Now, as you scroll down, you'll see that nothing really happens to show you like what 9 is, right? Like, I don't know what 9 is. So what's important to note is that you have these labels or field names up at the top, but you want to see those all the time. So what I want to challenge you to do is I want you to find a feature that will let you keep this row here and view this row all the time. So that's your hint. You want to view this row all the time as you scroll down. So I want you to pause the video here and see if you can figure that out. So if I want to keep this here so I can view it all the time, I'm going to go to the View tab. And on the View tab, there is actually a feature that is called Freeze Panes. When you want to freeze panes, you can freeze the top row of the spreadsheet, you can freeze the first column of the spreadsheet, or you can freeze multiple panes. So for instance, if I click, I can go ahead and freeze the top row, and you'll see it kind of gets like a nice little gray border. And as I scroll down, it stays there. So I can see what all of these columns have for their field names. I can do the same thing for freeze first column, and that would mean as I scroll to the left here, or the right, I am now frozen that piece. But you'll see that I have not frozen the first row anymore. You can only freeze one at a time using the first row or first column option. Let's say I want to always keep the first row there, and I want to keep the gender and the age here. I can click right here on the first person's class, and everything to the left I can freeze, and everything above this I can freeze by using the freeze panes option. So I can unfreeze the certain panes that have been frozen, and clicked here, it'll freeze everything to the left and everything above that cell. And I can freeze the panes instead of just freezing the top row and the first column. And you'll see that it will draw two borders. And now I've frozen the first row. And if I scroll across, I've frozen the first two columns by clicking on this cell. So you have the option to freeze certain things. And this is great for large amounts of data and big tables where you want to watch people and do things. So lots of different options for you to be able to view your data. The third option is to make this into a table and make Excel recognize it as a table. Right now, it just sees it as a spreadsheet. It doesn't know that the data all has to do with each other. So I can start in cell A1 and I can click and drag down, and I can hold my click and drag. And you can see I can sit here and drag and drag and drag until I reach the end of my data at 757 people. And then I can go ahead and scroll across through column J because that's where the music ends. Now that I have this all selected, I can turn it into a table. There's another way that you can go ahead and select this though, and that's by actually going up to the first row. So if you're all the way up in A1, okay, and you're clicked on the first row, and you hold shift and control on your keyboard. Shift and control on your keyboard is going to allow you to use your arrow keys to select things in a large scale. So when I click and point downward, you'll see that I'll reach row 226, and it stops because there's a blank row because somebody didn't give me the answer to their gender. And if I keep doing that, holding shift and control and pressing the down arrow, you'll find that after about 2 to 3 clicks, or probably 4 or 5 clicks, I've reached 757 people. And if I keep shifting control, I can hit the right arrow this time and it will pop over to the end. So it's trying to find where that data ends, but when it reaches a blank cell, it stops because it thinks the data has ended, but you can keep going if you need to. So now that all of this is selected, I'd like you to go format this as an actual table. So pause the video here and format as a table. So to format this as a table, you are going to go to the Home tab. I do believe it's also on the Insert tab. Yep, we've got Table on the Insert tab. But on the Home tab, you've also got it in the Styles group, and you can actually format it as a table. When you format it as a table, you'll see that you have a bunch of options in the drop-down menu. And again, all of these have names, which we know because we've been in here before. And you can see the colors have changed a little bit because we've changed our theme. Somebody else has done that before. We've given it the spreadsheet. So we'll go ahead and adjust that. But you can see here that I can apply a table style, and it'll ask me, where's your table data? Well, we already had it selected, so it's going to select it. And notice it put $signs in it because it wants to make sure it's exact. And then does my table have headers? Well, that's the first row, and it does have headers. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK, and it will apply that formatting. And you can see that there's other ideas that we can get now that it's kind of cool. Like Excel and Word and PowerPoint are getting really cool with giving you ideas of how to show patterns and all those kinds of things. I'm just going to hit Not Now for right now. And you can see that I have a table design tab that pops up. These colors are specified by my theme again. So if I go to the page layout tab, you can see I've got themes over here. I can change my theme to whatever I want, just like I could in Word. So I can pick a theme, I can choose new colors, right? So I can go here and I can choose like blue-green or green-blue, and I can adjust my fonts and all those kinds of things, and it will adjust on my spreadsheet.